Nietzsche, Aristotle, Plato, Epictetus. What if these legendary minds, so often separated by centuries, continents, and worldviews, could sit together, gaze into your eyes, and argue about what truly matters? Imagine the room, not a dusty lecture hall, but a living, breathing space where ideas clash like thunder and laughter echoes after every bold claim. Here, the air is electric with possibility. The walls themselves seem to lean in, eager to catch every word. Forget the dry textbooks and distant statues. These are men who wrestled with the meaning of life, who dared to stare into the abyss and ask, why are we here? Nietzsche, with his fierce independence, challenges you to break your own chains. Aristotle, ever the voice of balance, invites you to find purpose in the ordinary moments. Plato, eyes fixed on a world beyond, whispers that there's more to existence than what you see. And Epictetus, humble yet unbreakable, offers the quiet strength to accept what you cannot change. This is not just a story. It's an invitation to question, to feel, to be unsettled. As these philosophers debate, their words are not relics, but living sparks, igniting something deep within you. Are you ready to join them? To laugh, to doubt, to rage, to hope. Step closer. The search for meaning is about to begin and you are part of it. The room was unlike any other, a space suspended between time and memory, where the air shimmered with the weight of thought. 4 figures gathered, each bearing the unmistakable presence of genius and contradiction. Friedrich Nietzsche, eyes burning with restless intensity, paced along the shelves lined with ancient tomes. Aristotle, calm and measured, traced his fingers over the spines of books, absorbing the wisdom of centuries. Plato, lost in reverie, gazed through a window that overlooked a landscape both real and imagined. Epictetus, serene and grounded, sat, cross-legged on a simple mat, content within the silence. Nietzsche broke the stillness, his voice sharp as a blade. God is dead, and we have killed him. What remains for us, now that the heavens are empty? Aristotle's eyes narrowed, his tone gentle but firm. Happiness, Nietzsche, is not found in the death of gods, but in the fulfillment of our nature. Virtue is the path to flourishing. Plato smiled, his expression enigmatic. Perhaps we must look beyond the world of senses. Nietzsche, the good exists, eternal and unchanging, waiting to be discovered by the soul. Epictetus, unmoved by the tension, offered a quiet observation. It is not the events themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. Freedom lies within. The debate ignited, each philosopher's words striking sparks in the dim light. Nietzsche's challenge was raw, almost painful in its honesty. He spoke of the abyss, of the courage required to face a universe stripped of meaning. If we are to create value, we must do so ourselves. The old certainties are ashes. Aristotle countered with the language of reason and moderation. Excess and deficiency are the enemies of virtue. We must seek the golden mean, shaping our lives through rational choice. Plato's voice was soft but insistent, weaving images of a reality beyond the senses. The shadows on the wall are not the truth, my friends. Only through philosophy can we ascend to the world of forms. Epictetus, ever the Stoic, reminded them of the limits of control. We cannot command fate, but we can master our responses. Wisdom is accepting what we cannot change. The argument grew heated, but beneath the clash of ideas, a current of respect flowed. Each man recognized in the others a fellow traveler, a seeker of truth. The air crackled with possibility. Suddenly, the room shifted. The walls faded, replaced by a landscape at dusk-rolling hills, a distant city, the scent of rain on stone. The philosophers found themselves standing together beneath a sky streaked with the last light of day. The world outside beckoned, full of questions and dangers. Nietzsche turned to the others, a wry smile on his lips. Shall we test our philosophies in the world, rather than in this sanctuary? Aristotle nodded, his gaze steady. Let us observe, reason, and act. Only through engagement can we know what is true. Plato's eyes shone with anticipation. Perhaps we will find the shadows are not so easily escaped. Epictetus rose, dusting off his robe. Let us go. Then, with courage and humility, together, they stepped into the unknown. The journey had begun not just through the world, but through the labyrinth of the human soul. Each carried his own vision of truth, and each was about to be tested in ways he could not foresee. As the four figures walked into the twilight, the tension between them was palpable, yet there was also a sense of camaraderie, a recognition that the search for meaning was a burden best shared. The world they entered was both familiar and strange, a city at the edge of night, where lanterns flickered in narrow alleys and distant laughter echoed off ancient stone. The philosophers moved as a group, curiosity guiding their steps. Each man's mind was alive with questions, sharpened by the presence of his peers. Nietzsche was the first to break the silence, his gaze fixed on the shifting shadows. Plato, your cave is a prison. Why cling to illusions when we can forge our own path? The world is raw, and only those who embrace its chaos can create meaning. Plato met Nietzsche's challenge with calm conviction. Without the eternal forms, all is flux and confusion. The senses deceive. Friedrich. True knowledge comes from turning away from shadows and seeking the light of reason. Aristotle, ever the mediator, stepped between them. Both of you see only part of the picture. Truth is not found in extremes. We must observe the world, yes, but also abstract its principles. Only through balance can we approach understanding. Epictetus, walking a few steps behind, offered his perspective in a tone both gentle and unyielding. Reality is not what happens to us, but how we interpret it. The wise man accepts the world as it is, without complaint or despair. The city streets grew busier, vendors called out, children darted past, and the four philosophers found themselves swept into the flow of daily life. Nietzsche's eyes lingered on a mural depicting a hero's struggle. See how the people celebrate strength and will. They do not wait for truth to descend from above, they seize it. Plato shook his head, gesturing to a group of elders, debating beneath a tree. Yet even here, they search for something higher. Justice, beauty, goodness, these are not found in the marketplace, but in the soul's ascent. Aristotle approached a craftsman at work, observing the careful shaping of wood. Excellence, or arete, is achieved through habit and purpose. The craftsman embodies virtue by perfecting his art. Epictetus paused to help a beggar, offering not coins, but a kind word. We possess nothing but our own will. Freedom is found in accepting what we cannot change and acting with integrity. As dusk deepened, the group found themselves in a public square, drawn into a heated debate among townsfolk about the nature of justice. The philosophers listened, each hearing echoes of his own philosophy and the challenges it faced. Nietzsche leaned in, voice low, "Let us not become spectators. If reality is to be understood, it must be lived." Plato agreed, though his eyes were distant. Perhaps the world of forms is not so far from this one. Perhaps, in striving for justice here, we touch something eternal. Aristotle smiled, energized by the discourse. Let us test our ideas in the crucible of action. Only then will we know their worth. Epictetus nodded, serene. Let us remember, what matters is not the world's judgment, but our own. The debate in the square raged on, but the four philosophers had already moved beyond words. Each was changed by the encounter, challenged, inspired, unsettled. The night pressed in, and with it came the promise of new questions, new trials, and the hope that, together, they might come closer to the elusive truth. The dawn broke with a muted light, casting long shadows over a village nestled between rugged hills. The air was thick with the scent of earth and smoke, and the faces of the villagers told stories of hardship and quiet endurance. The four philosophers arrived at the outskirts, their footsteps stirring dust on the worn paths. Nietzsche's eyes scanned the scene with a mixture of fascination and resolve. Here, suffering is not an abstract idea, but a living force. It is the crucible in which strength is forged. He approached a group of villagers gathered around a fallen tree. Their faces etched with grief and determination. To endure, to overcome, this is the path to becoming who you truly are. Epictetus moved among the people with gentle presence, offering words of calm. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. It is within your power to choose your response. Aristotle observed the villagers' actions, how they cooperated, how they rebuilt what was lost. Virtue is practical. It is found in the habits we form and the choices we make, even amid adversity. Plato, standing apart, seemed to look beyond the visible pain to something unseen. Perhaps this suffering points to a deeper truth: the soul's yearning for the good, for harmony beyond this broken world. A child approached Nietzsche, eyes wide with curiosity and fear. Nietzsche knelt, meeting the gaze with intensity. Do not fear the darkness. It is in facing it that you find your light. Epictetus spoke softly to an elderly woman, her hands trembling. Control what you can, your thoughts, your will. The rest is beyond you. Aristotle helped organize a small group to clear debris, his voice steady and encouraging. Action is the antidote to despair. Through purposeful effort, we shape our destiny. As the day wore on, the philosophers witnessed moments of both despair and hope. A man sang a mournful song, his voice raw but resolute. A woman shared bread with a stranger, embodying kindness despite scarcity. Children played, laughter piercing the heavy air. Nietzsche turned to the others, his voice tinged with urgency. Suffering is not merely to be endured, it must be transformed. The eternal return demands that we embrace life's pain as part of its beauty. Plato nodded slowly. Suffering may be the shadow of a greater light, a reminder of the soul's exile from its true home. Aristotle added thoughtfully, the good life is not free from hardship, but shaped by how we meet it with courage, wisdom, and temperance. Epictetus smiled gently. Freedom is the inner fortress no suffering can breach. As night fell, the village gathered around a fire, their faces illuminated by flickering flames. The philosophers joined them, sharing stories and reflections. The barriers between ancient wisdom and lived experience blurred, revealing a shared human struggle. In that moment, the four men understood that philosophy was not merely a pursuit of abstract truths, but a guide through the darkest valleys of existence. Each was changed, their beliefs deepened and challenged by the raw reality before them. The philosophers found themselves gathered around a crackling fire beneath a vast, star-studded sky. The night was cool, the air filled with the scent of pine and earth. The flickering flames cast dancing shadows on their faces, revealing the intensity of their thoughts. Nietzsche broke the silence, his voice low but fervent. Freedom is the power to create oneself anew, to break free from the chains of convention and morality. The Bemensch is the embodiment of this will beyond good and evil, beyond the herd. Epictetus regarded him calmly, his eyes reflecting the firelight. True freedom, Friedrich, is not found in rebellion against the world, but in mastering one's own mind. It is to be unmoved by fortune, to accept what comes with equanimity. Aristotle leaned forward, fingers steepled. Freedom is the exercise of reason in accordance with virtue. It is the capacity to act rightly, guided by wisdom and temperance, not by mere desire or impulse. Plato's gaze was distant, almost ethereal. Freedom is the soul's remembrance of its divine origin. To be free is to recall the eternal forms and to strive toward the good. Nietzsche's eyes flashed with impatience. But what of the constraints imposed by society, by tradition? Must we bow to them, or shatter them to claim our destiny? Epictetus smiled gently. The only chains that bind us are those we accept. Freedom is an inner fortress no external force can breach. Aristotle nodded thoughtfully. Yet society is necessary for the cultivation of virtue. We are political animals. Our freedom is intertwined with our roles within the polis. Plato added softly, the soul's freedom transcends the body and the city. It is a journey inward, toward truth and justice. The fire crackled louder, as if echoing the tension between their views. Nietzsche stood abruptly, pacing. I reject any freedom that demands submission to the herd. The individual must rise, create values, and embrace the chaos of existence. Epictetus remained seated, serene, and yet, peace comes not from external conquest, but from harmony within. Aristotle smiled, a bridge between extremes. Perhaps freedom is both the courage to create and the wisdom to temper that creation with reason. Plato's voice was a whisper, yet carried the weight of ages. Freedom is the soul's liberation from ignorance, the ascent from shadows to light. As the night deepened, the philosophers fell into contemplative silence. Each was challenged by the other's words, forced to reconsider the boundaries of freedom. The fire's glow softened, and the stars above seemed to watch their debate with timeless patience. In that moment, freedom revealed itself, not as a simple ideal, but as a complex dance between will and acceptance, individuality and community, chaos and order. As dawn painted the horizon with hues of gold and rose, the four philosophers found themselves seated on a gentle hillside overlooking the waking world. The air was crisp, filled with the quiet promise of a new day. After nights of intense debate and days of shared experience, a profound stillness settled among them, a moment ripe for reflection. Nietzsche broke the silence, his voice tinged with both weariness and resolve. Perhaps meaning is not something to be found, but something we create. The universe offers no answers. It is our task to impose purpose upon the void. Plato's eyes, reflecting the rising sun, held a different conviction. Meaning is eternal, embedded in the realm of forms. Our souls remember it, though it is veiled by the illusions of the material world. Aristotle nodded thoughtfully, fingers tracing patterns in the grass. Meaning arises from living a life of virtue, balancing reason and passion, fulfilling our potential as rational beings. It is found in the harmony of action and contemplation. Epictetus smiled gently, his voice calm as a flowing stream. Meaning is not granted by the world, nor by lofty ideals, but by living in accordance with nature and accepting what we cannot control. It is found in the serenity of the mind. Nietzsche's gaze pierced the horizon. To embrace the eternal. Return is to affirm life in all its chaos and suffering. Meaning is forged in the fire of existence itself. Plato responded softly, yet without the good, without the true and the beautiful, our creations risk becoming hollow shadows. Aristotle added, the good life is an activity of the soul in accordance with virtue. Meaning is not a destination, but a journey, continuous striving. Epictetus concluded, and in that striving, peace is found not in external circumstances, but in the mastery of our own will. The sun climbed higher, bathing the landscape in warm light. The philosophers sat in companionable silence, each contemplating the other's words. Their journey had been one of challenge and growth, of confronting the deepest questions that haunt humanity. Nietzsche finally smiled, a rare softness in his expression. Perhaps the greatest meaning is found in the dialogue itself, in the clash and fusion of ideas. Plato nodded, eyes bright. In the pursuit of truth, we glimpse the eternal. Aristotle's voice was steady. In virtuous action, we find purpose. Epictetus's gaze was serene. And in acceptance, we find freedom. Their conversation had no final answer, only the invitation to continue seeking, questioning, and living. The horizon stretched endlessly before them, a symbol of the infinite paths each soul might take. As they rose to descend the hill, the philosophers knew their journey together was ending, but the search for meaning would endure in them, and in all who dare to ask, dare to question, dare to feel. Subscribe now, and join the debate, because the search for meaning begins with you. Share your thoughts in the comments. Who do you agree with? Let's keep the conversation alive.